Hello everyone, Melderon TV here. Um, Today, thanks for being here. It's vlog number 10, and we're going to talk about a topic that we haven't talked about really yet. I briefly alluded to it in other vlogs, but the topic we're going to be covering today is being how to be a good both guildmaster and raid leader, and to do that, the pointers I'm about to show you are from my experiences as being both a GM and a raid leader. And of those of you in the Metal Militia Guild now, this has nothing to do with the experience I've had with you guys. It's been everything with the guild we've had on Lightbringer, Light's Hope has been overwhelmingly positive. This is about when I was a guild master and guild leader during my tenure, during that time, during actual retail, during Wrath of the Lich King. So let's start from there. So let's go back to Wrath of the Lich King. Let's go back to the start of Wrath of the Lich King. So this is after Burning Crusade. I started in late vanilla, so I've had a full expansion to try to evolve as a player and learn new things and become a more well-rounded player. And when Wrath launched, I was the most excited for that launch because I was more involved in the lore, more involved in the game at this point, and I was playing a lot more often as well. So I was very excited for this expansion, and I told myself two things. I want to become more of a support role, and I want to start my own guild. And this is something that me and Defcamp did together. We came around this decision we want to start a guild. I'm lead tank, he's lead healer, and that was our dream, and that's how we started it. So it's launch happens. So I have my mage, and I also roll Death Knight. So I leveled my mage to 80, and my Death Knight to 80. I basically would grind on one character while the other one slept, and then vice versa, went up and down. So I got my Death Knight to 80 first, and I liked him a lot more. And of course, since I wanted the main tank, I wanted to primarily play on my Death Knight. So we had never run a guild before, nor had we ever even been officers in a guild before. So this was totally new to us. We didn't know what really to do. So of course we got our guild charter, and with another real life friend named Dan, who we talked about in previous videos, and we start just getting random signatures right from around. We didn't know anybody at this point. We just wanted to get the guild established. We can actually do some inviting. So we got the guild charter signed. We got it established, and our guild name was Metal Militia, just like the one we have on currently on Lightbringer on the Alliance side. So we did that, and we were like, okay, now what? So what we did was we were max level at this point, so we started to run heroics. And this is before LFG, so everything was in Realm. So all the people that you played with and you met were in your same server. So what we would do is we would literally recruit characters after heroic or during or after heroics. If the heroic run went really, really well, we were like, and not just on their part but on our part as well. We were like, hey, we have this guild, we want to run Nax, do you want to join? And they would say yes or no, and that's how we literally built our raid team. And we got a good group of 10 people. Meanwhile, Dan was also recruiting during the day, and he was trying to form a day raid group because he couldn't play at night. So we actually had two possible raid groups forming up. And we got our core 10 people. We had Paladin, we had Hunters, we had two other Death Knights. I think we had 3 other Death Knights. We had a Hunter, a Mage, a Resto Druid, a Priest. The Defcamp was playing Priest at that time, and I had a Death Knight off tank, so it was double Death Knights. So, Death Knights were pretty OP. And so we rolled into Nax. Now, again, the only raid experience I had, not Defcamp. Defcamp did a lot more raids than I did in BC, was basically Karazhan and a little bit of SSC and Magtheridon. So I didn't raid much in BC. So I really did a lot of studying and research. And I basically, I've always kind of had a natural ability to I don't want to say lead people. It has a very negative connotation to it. I have a way of getting people together towards a common goal. I know that is leading, but I think when people say I'm a natural leader, it's very pretentious. I don't want to say that. I think I have the ability of getting people together, and we go do a common thing, and that thing was killing bosses. So, before I get into everything else, I just want to say that's how we started. We had a lot of fun. We eventually downed KT. We went to 25 man. So there are a lot of good things that happened. We first time we did the Hagen dance, we all wiped except for myself and the 2 healers, and we actually 2 healed 10 man. And we completed the Hagen dance the first time with just this 1 tank and 2 healers. But we had a lot of fun times. And it was a great experience for the most part. But there were a lot of things that were hard and a lot of things that were not fun. And that's something I want to cover as well when I get into the later part of this episode, where I talk about pointers that I would like to give how to be an effective both GM and raid leader. Okay? And so let's talk about why we fell apart. When we shifted from 10 to 2, so we didn't do any Loot Council or Dragon Kill points because we ran a 10-man raid. So usually, if anything dropped, it was very class specific, and we only had 1 rogue, 1 shaman, a couple Death Knights. I'm pretty sure the only class we had multiple of was Death Knights. Not saying that a plate piece couldn't be for somebody else, but we had no warriors or paladins. Okay. We had 1 priest. We had, actually the most fighting over was for Death Knights, and I wouldn't take any DPS gear, so if anything tank-related dropped, me and my off-tank Moograg, would just flip back and forth. We'd say, oh, I'll take this piece today, you take it next time, blah, blah, blah. It was really, really simple. Then we moved to 25-man raiding, and that's when things got very hard because we didn't have 25 core raiders. We went back into the mode of recruitment, and we did as best we could, but in our first raids, we didn't have enough of people to do it without pugging, so we had to start pugging. And for me, I'm not going to be like, hey, random guy who I got in Dalaran, you're not getting any gear for this run, you're just going to come with us. No. We didn't go Loot Cancel or DKP until we knew we had a full raid group. And we tried to, of course, say, hey, if you want to join the guild, we'll involve you into the guild into the gear rotation and stuff like that. But that unfortunately didn't happen for a while. So we had 1 or 2 people that were very, very mad about that. And I'm not saying I don't understand it, but they didn't have the patience to give us the time to get more people involved in the guild, have a full 25-man roster, and then go to a more DKP or Loot Council type of thing. So we had a lot of dissentment. A lot of people were angry. A lot of people yelled at me and other officers in the guild because they weren't getting the gear they wanted, and Pug got it instead. But my point was, how can I invite someone and literally tell them they're not getting a piece of gear? So I couldn't do that. So we eventually did down Max 25, but there was things started to happen within the guild that became things got there was a pollution that kind of started to build in the guild, and I think it started from the gear situation. And it's a combination. When guilds fall apart, it's a combination of a lot of things, at least from my perspective. Real life things start coming into the mix. People are late for raids. People are complaining about not getting loot. Someone doesn't like someone. One rogue doesn't like the other rogue. Things like that just start to build up. At the time, I was working full-time, and I was thinking about going back to school for a graduate program, so I was like really, not to toot my own horn, I was very busy. And I, not a graduate program, excuse me, another bachelor's program, because I wasn't happy in the bachelor's thing I was doing now. Anyway, I was very busy. And and when I get really stressed out, it's hard for me to say, I need help, I need help. So I walked away from the guild, and I gave it to my brother. And it's nothing to his fault, but it fell apart from there because people just the glue wasn't there anymore, like it was when we first started, when we first did our 10-man run in Nax. So, and I'm not sure if I would, so you guys know I am a GM now. But I think I'm confident in saying that I probably will never become a raid leader again. If I do raids, I'm going to assign a raid leader. I'm not going to do it anymore. Because I would rather have a safe haven for people to come in, like the guild we have now, and experience the game together and talk and have fun. That's what I want. If you want to do raids, great. But we're going to be delegating someone to do that. Because I don't have the time anymore at my age and at my level of responsibility, I don't have the time to be that GM anymore. And I think that's okay. But that goes into my thing, the steps and points I'm going to talk about being an effective and good guild leader or raid leader, is the things you have to kind of take into consideration or do, or points that I'll talk about. So anyway, that's where I'm at now in my life, is that I love the guild we have. We have a great guild. We have a lot of fun people. But I'm not going to be as active as I once was ever again. That's never going to happen again. And I would like to raid one day. I'd like to go back into raids. I would like to experience MC and Ani. I would like to experience WL, but I'm not going to be the raid leader. That's definitely not going to happen. So, but let's move into the points I like to talk about. And the first point is that I've learned being a GM over my time as being a GM and a raid leader is, don't be afraid to relinquish control. So, what I mean by that is that I can be very OCD, and I think a lot of GMs probably are, and raid leaders probably are. Something that I did when Nax first came out, if you guys remember TankSpot was a YouTube channel that was dedicated to explaining boss fights, and they did a very good job doing it. So I made a guild website, and I literally linked every single boss mechanic video that TankSpot made underneath the boss's name. I said, guys, before raid, please watch the videos. They're about 10 minutes long each. It's going to require some time. Please watch them. And I got very frustrated when people didn't watch them. And I should have been more proactive. No, not proactive. I should have been I should have watched them myself and then talked about the research to other people. And I think the fact that people didn't reach my expectations is bad. You have a certain expectation for yourself. You really shouldn't put that on other people. Especially if it is maybe a little overboard. Asking someone to watch 2 hours of video before a raid is kind of crazy. And I think I realized that a lot when it was too late. Sorry for that phone, guys. And the thing I want to tell people is basically like, don't get mad if people don't achieve this perfection. Release that OCD, release that control, let it go. Not to all extent. Like, don't let people just like not show up to raids and be like, it's okay, man. No, that's not what I mean. But at the same time, be realistic. And it's okay to just let things go sometimes. Not everything's going to be picture perfect all the time. Point 2 is power delegation. This is paramount. Good GMs and good raid leaders relinquish control, or it's not relinquish, I just said relinquish control. Delegate power to people who don't seek power for power's sake, but are good leaders, and want to help. Those are the people that you really need to delegate power to. And it doesn't have to be raid oriented. It could be like, dude, like, let someone have access to the guild. There's no guild banks in vanilla. Let's pretend there were. During Wrath there was. Give someone guild bank control. Let them do that. That's their job, right? Give someone recruitment power. Give someone, like, and this is more raid oriented, let someone be the caster guy, the mage guy, the rogue guy. Just delegate power as much as you possibly can, because to those who seek it for good reasons, because it makes your job so much easier. Another mistake I made early on was like, no, I'm in control of this and this and this and that, and that's not a good way to run a guild. And I did learn that while the guild was still active, but it took me a while to kind of realize that. And I would tell anybody who has aspirations of guild leading or raid leading in vanilla to really think about that. Point number 3 is to be fair. And there's 3 subcategories to this be fair. And the first is to make rules and guidelines clear and evident and early on. If you don't like certain things, make it clear right away. If you don't like people using racial slurs or saying certain things, make that apparent right away. If you don't like certain behavior, name calling or linking DPS meters after every pull, just say it right away. And those are examples. I'd never had that problem with DPS meters nor racial slurs, but I'm trying to give you guys examples of what things that would probably drive me insane. Dissension, saying no outright in front of other guildies to a direct order or command. Because let's face it, I mean, if you're serious about progression, you have to run your guild like a military. A friendly military. I'm not saying you can't say certain things, but like, there is an echelon of power and a hierarchy of order and control. So just make those rules and guidelines pretty out. And I would also recommend, as another subcategory to be fair, is a 3-strike rule. And this is regardless of who the player is. Okay. And so a 3-strike system ensures that people know when they're almost off the edge, right? So when you say X, we have 1 strike for what you just did. They know they only have 2 strikes left, no matter what. And you can't be picky and choosy with issuing strikes. If someone breaks one of the rules or regulations, they have to get a strike. And if they're the top DPS, they get a strike. And I can't stress that enough. Is that don't have favorites when it comes to strike systems. I think that if someone does something bad, even if you're the best player in your guild, they have to reap the consequences of that, because then it tells other people they can do it, or it shows other people that they aren't as important because they did something even less egregious and they got a strike. So I think a 3-strike system is a very good way of keeping order in your guild. And that kind of goes into the next categories that don't accept unacceptable behavior. So if something's unacceptable, let someone know immediately. And the quicker you nip the bud, the quicker you'll gain respect, and the quicker that kind of things won't happen anymore. So point 4 is reward good behavior. And I'm not saying give people gear. What I'm saying is say, hey, X, while in Discord or whatever you're using, X, great job. Thank you so much for doing that. Y, great job on that fight. Your DPS is improving. Really give credit where credit is due, because people, that's what people thrive off of. And it's not like, I'm not saying like, pay people off with like good tidings or whatever. No, reinforce good behavior, and don't, it's the opposite of don't accept unacceptable behavior. Reinforce good behavior and tell people good job. Thank you for that. Thanks for putting those things in the guild bank, even if they're not a raider. Thanks for helping those lobies out in that dungeon run last night. Doesn't have to be in Discord so everyone else hears it. You can just give them a PM. So that's point number 4. Point number 5 is manage time efficiently. Another problem I did was that since I was a GM, that's literally all I thought about when I was offline. Not healthy, especially if you have a job and if you have other responsibilities in real life. Separate the two things. Also, separate being a GM from your play experience. If you need a night where you just need to do some leveling by yourself, let your guild know. Say, hey guys, I'm gonna be off Discord tonight. I really want to be by myself. If it's not a raid night, there's nothing wrong with that, and let people know that. Don't let the guild run your life. Run the guild. Okay, those are the things. Or have not just yourself, but other people's run the guild. Don't let the guild run your life. Don't let the guild interfere your work, your personal interactions with significant others or family or friends. Don't let it do it. Make healthy boundaries and keep those boundaries up. Number 6, this should come as a no-brainer. Have a good time. As much as I say Warcraft isn't a game, it's an experience, it's not real life. And if you have things that are more important that are happening at the moment, just push the guild aside and have someone else run it for a few days or something like that. But when you are playing, laugh, have a good time. If you wipe on a boss, I know it can be frustrating after the 10th wipe. Sometimes you just gotta laugh. You just gotta laugh and say, "All right, guys, let's try this one more time tonight. Maybe we'll have a fresh start tomorrow." Tell jokes when not fighting in the guild. When not like fighting bosses. Tell jokes, have a good time, and yeah, that's just it's great the camaraderie aspect and the social aspect is what makes WoW great. And if you just and for high-end progression guilds, this might be bullcrap to you, so just forget what I'm saying. But for us that were moderate progression guilds, maybe even low progression guilds, we like to have fun and have a good time and joke and make friends. So have fun, have a good time, enjoy what a guild can be to its fullest extent and enjoy what being a GM can be like, about being a person to lead your party into fights and battles and stuff like that, and reap the benefits and laugh and joke together when you fail, right? So that's basically what I wanted to cover today, with what my experience was like being a GM and how to be a good GM and raid leader. I learned a lot in my brief foray as a GM, and that, we fell apart before Alduar, or during Alduar actually, so I didn't really get to experience being a GM very long, but I do feel like that I have experience enough to determine what I like and what I don't like, and also what the do's and don'ts are. And for me, I know I can definitely be a GM, but I probably would not like being both raid leader and GM. Raid leader requires a lot of time and effort and energy, and for me, it's very hard for me to keep up on that. So, again, these are just my opinions. These are not, of course, fact or unarguable things. This is what I would like to talk about and what I experienced as a GM and a raid leader. So, okay, let's do a Melderon IRL. So, I promised Defcamp that I would talk about the Avengers, and I will talk about it briefly. So, I saw the Avengers. It was a Marvel movie. So, no character development, no depth, a lot of booms and fights, and everyone had the same sense of humor. That's what I noticed about the Avengers movie. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I liked the booms and the fights were good. The explosions and fights were good. The special effects were incredible, of course. But I didn't really feel anything for any of the characters. At the end, when they all missed it away, the meme part when they're all misting away or whatever like that. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I didn't come out of the theater like, wow, that was life changing. No, it was a good popcorn flick. So I would, from a 1 to 10 scale, I'd probably give it a 6. No, it wasn't. But again, it was entertaining. I will say it's entertaining, but it wasn't my favorite film. What I do want to cover, though, is this interesting software that isn't new, but I just rediscovered it. I actually knew about it for a couple years back, and I didn't really download it. And now that I remembered it one day when I was watching a documentary, I remembered about this software, and it's called SETI at Home. SETI at symbol home. Basically, what it is, it's through the University of Berkeley, and it's if you know the Arecibo Observatory in Mexico, it's the largest radio satellite in the world, and it gets radio transmissions and radio signals from the universe and that are coming towards Earth, and it hits these radio signals, hit the detector, and the detector sends it to a computer system, and it's analyzed for irregularities and anomalies that could potentially mean intelligent civilizations exist in the cosmos. The problem is there's so much data that comes into this Arecibo Observatory on a minute-by-minute, second-by-second basis that there's just really not enough computers the computer system can't analyze it all at once. So, an ingenious thing they did was they created a software that you can download at home that downloads patches of this data, and you can analyze it on your computer when your computer is not in use, or when it's in use, whenever you want it to. When you have nothing doing, when it's when it's at certain times, you can customize it whenever you want, however you want, how much of your CPU you want it to use, and it literally downloads this information and analyzes it for anomalous readings. That's all it does, and it sends that information back to Berkeley. So I think it's amazing software, and I'm proud of it. I'm a part of it. And if you think that the search for extraterrestrial intelligence will not bear fruit and it's a frivolous exercise, there are many other data packages that you can download that answer other scientific questions that have nothing to do with SETI from this Berkeley website. And I'll put both the SETI at Home link and this Berkeley school link that lets you pick other questions you would like to download in the description. You can check out. So it's really interesting software. Basically, I think it's really cool when because we're gamers, we all walk away from our computers and it just sits there, right? You forget to put it to sleep and you just go outside or whatever. And now I set it to if I'm 5 minutes of activity, boop, this thing turns on and starts doing its thing, sends the information back to Berkeley. I'm doing my part the way I look in scientific research. So if you guys are interested, definitely check it out. So that's it. Leave a like if you liked. Leave a sub if you want to hear more vlogs. more classic WoW vlogs, more Def Talks, more Super Play Brothers Let's Plays, more classic Vanilla WoW discussions, and then the oddball movies we make every once in a while, the funny guides or the, Defcamp graphics or graphical update videos, stuff like that. If you guys want to see more of that, drop a sub, hit the bell so you get the notifications. Again, thanks for over 1,000 subs. It means a lot to us. Thank you for the community we have on Discord and Twitter. If you want to follow us or join Twitter, follow us on Twitter and join us on Discord. The links are below as well. So, thanks for the community. Thanks for all the new subs. And hope to see you guys soon. The next video will probably be, hopefully, Super Plate Brothers. But then we have another interview lined up for this week, later on this week for Def Talk. So, hope to see you guys then as well. And I'm really looking forward to that. So, have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. If you have any comments about your guild experiences, put them in the description, please, or put them on Discord. I'd like to hear about them. And I'd also like to hear if I missed anything or if other pointers you think could make potentially good guild masters or raid leaders. Have a good one, guys. See you later.